Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Chad Robichaux.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all so much for being here. Thank you again, Congressman, for the amazing talk tonight and just for being here with us and continuing to serve not only our country, but our warriors and your brothers who have served so much for us. Guys, it's absolutely amazing to be standing up here and looking at this room. If you just take a look around, for those of you who have been here from the beginning, this is incredible. I'm blown away. Thank you all for being here. And for those who have been here from the beginning, thanks for continuing to believe in the mission that God has put in the hearts of us for Mighty Oaks and for American warriors and their families. Who's here for the first time? Wow, thank you guys so much for coming. So because you're here for the first time, it's my job tonight to inform you and introduce you to Mighty Oaks as an organization. And I have and probably always will do that by telling you where we started. Because I believe our history is at the core of who we are and how we function as an organization. Many of you may know or may not know, I'm not only the founder of Mighty Oaks, but I was the first student or first warrior to go through and be served by this methodology that we use. I was a Marine, as Congressman made fun of. But you always make fun of the best. That's kind of how it goes. So not only was I a Marine, but I'm from a 3-generation Marine Corps family. My father was a Marine, and he was an infantry Marine and served in Vietnam. I was a force reconnaissance Marine. I did 8 deployments to Afghanistan. And my son Hunter is a Marine in Anglico, and he's actually in Afghanistan. Yes. And right now, tonight is a super special night for me because he's been in Afghanistan for almost a year, and he's standing by on a runway waiting to get on a plane to come home tonight. So, yes. I know a lot of you guys have been praying for him and for his unit, and I'm so thankful for those prayers as parents. I always never really thought much of what it would be like to send a child to combat. But then I realized not only am I a parent sending my child to combat, but I know way too much. From my own experience and from the work that we do at Mighty Oaks, I knew way too much. And this was my 9th deployment for me. And I tell you, it was the hardest of all nine of those deployments was to have him out there. But thankfully, he's coming home and coming home safely. And we're just so proud of him. But one of the things about my son coming home from combat that I want to share with you guys is I don't have a lot of fear or worry. I had fear or worry about him and being in combat and his physical safety, but I don't possess a fear of him coming home and facing some of these problems that we're talking about tonight. Because I've been able to invest in him because of my own experience and experience at Mighty Oaks, what we call resiliency. His preparedness to be able to go and see and do the things he had to see and do, and he did see combat there. He was not tucked away on a base. He saw combat. He was involved in some things that he'll probably have to reconcile. But I believe because of the resiliency we instilled in him, through the pillars of resiliency, through being mentally tough, physically tough, being in a good social network, knowing what kind of friends to surround himself by in the good times and bad, and having a spiritual foundation, I am confident that he's going to come home and about to bounce back. And he's going to move forward and be successful in his transition. And one of my favorite things to do at Mighty Oaks is our resiliency program. We've spoken over 100,000 warriors, about 130,000 warriors. I get to go to places like Marine Corps Boot Camp. And now, for those who follow us, General Heritage is over all of Marine Corps Boot Camp, has made it mandatory for every Marine Corps recruit to hear me, have to endure me talk to them and tell them about resiliency and spiritual resiliency. And it's an absolute honor because I was one of only 2, myself and a Marine named Phil Downer were the only 2 allowed to do that. So it's a real privilege to do it, and I take it very seriously because I believe that if with the right principles, with the right spiritual pillars and foundational pillars of resiliency, that these warriors will not struggle if they're prepared the right way in the front end. And so we're able to participate in that. But me, and like my many other warriors, I didn't go with those pillars. I had some of them. I was mentally tough. Just ask me, like I would have told you I was mentally tough. I was super motivated. I believed I was the toughest person on the battlefield, which I think everyone going on the battlefield should believe that. I was physically tough. I was prepared. And I had a good social network, that 4th pillar of social. But I didn't have a strong spiritual foundation. And I believe that almost cost me everything deploying. And when I came home from my 8th deployment, I faced many of the things that many of our warriors face who we serve at Mighty Oaks. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. I suffered from very severe panic attacks. not just anxiety. I mean, like plastic bag over your face and hands tied behind your back level of panic on a daily basis. And I went down a downward spiral for a period of about 3 years that ended with me being alone in an apartment, facing a divorce with my family, and a pistol in my hand, trying to decide whether I wanted to live or die. And I had made a pretty firm choice that I was going to take my life. And on the other side of that, there were many steps to move forward and get out of that situation. But the most profound step of all those was the discipleship of a man here, and you guys met him tonight. He did the introduction, Steve Toth, who introduced me to a relationship with Christ. And I made a decision through his mentorship to align my life with the life that I believe I was created to live. A life of purpose, a new mission. And that purpose moving forward, it radically changed me. And I had a deep desire inside of me to share it with others. And that was the beginning of Mighty Oaks. That purpose, that new purpose through the restoration that I had in my life and my marriage and my own brokenness, the hope that I had for the first time in a very long time, and that purpose that I found was something that I knew I had to share with others. It was like when I was going through these dark moments, the darkest moments, I felt like I was the only one. I was all alone. Like no one could feel the way I feel. No one could feel as low as I felt, as hopeless as I felt, as so hopeless that you go from just wanting to die. You're like, I'm not going to kill myself, but I want to die. Maybe I'll get in a car accident. Having that feeling every day to where you actually decided, like, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to tell people. I'm not going to try to get help or cry for help. I'm going to keep it in my own little silo, and I'm going to execute on this. I thought I was the only one that felt that way. But on the other side, coming out of that fog, I realized that I not only was not the only one, but people were worse off than me, to the point that they were taking their life at a rate of 22 a day, every single day, 22. We throw that number around a lot. People do push-ups for it, wear T-shirts and stuff like that. When you really pause to think about the number, 22, every single day, it's horrific. I mean, every hour, the 2 hours that we'll be here, that's going to happen. And you think about the families and the loved ones, the wives and the children, the husbands of the female veterans, and how the children have to carry. You know, there's a statistic that says 1 in 3 children from a parent that commits suicide will do it themselves. The exponential impact that happens with that. When I started realizing that I wasn't the only one and other people had suffered with this, I knew there was a very big problem. It was like I woke up out of a dream that this is a big problem, and someone's got to do something about it. And God really put a burden on my heart. Why not me? And so Mighty Oaks was formed. Not just to help veterans. I didn't just want to help veterans. Me and Congressman Crenshaw and Jeremy and our whole team believe that we should never have a program that's like a coddle a vet program. Like, hey, thank you for your service. Let me give you a quilt and some cookies. But we love quilts and cookies, by the way. But those things don't change our problems. I have a friend that's in the room right now. He runs an organization called Veterans Outdoors. Great organization. They take veterans hunting and fishing, and he'll be the first to tell you, those things, while they're fun for the veterans to do, and we should do those things for our veterans, they're not going to change their situation. Veterans don't need to be coddled and told, thank you for your service. They need to be told, hey, you're better than this. Get up again. Get back in the fight. Get back to doing something purposeful again. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to share what I discovered with others. I wanted to challenge them to be the leaders that I knew they could be, to be the men and women that I knew they could be, to be the fathers and mothers, the parents and friends that I knew they could be, and to take the lessons that they learned and to pay it forward to the next guy. The Bible calls this discipleship. Jesus said to us, go forth and make disciples of all. And that's what we're doing at Mighty Oaks. We're building disciples and teaching people how not to just get well, but how to be in a position to help the next guy. The obedience that we had to that call that I felt God put in my heart 9 years ago, I'm very happy to say, while we see the success of a fancy room like this, and you guys had some, I didn't get a chance to eat it, but it looks like some pretty killer chicken, right? We might look at this and say, wow, man, we're a successful organization. This isn't what a success is. I wish we could do this on paper plates, but it takes some more than paper plates to get you guys here. The success happens when we get the chance to sit in the trenches with these warriors at our ranches. And we've been so blessed to impact the lives of tens of thousands in our military community. Why Mighty Oaks? Why does Mighty Oaks exist? VSO, I heard Congressman Crenshaw say VSO. The word VSO means Veteran Service Organization. That's what it stands for. There's about 43,000 veteran service organizations in America, a lot of them. So why do they even need to exist? Most of them are very well intended. I would say some of them are scams, unfortunately. Some of them are great. as well as a lot of great VSOs. But why do VSOs need to exist? We have a VA, we have a Veterans Affairs Office, we have a DOD, Department of Defense. In fact, those are the two biggest organizations in our nation, two biggest government organizations, the Department of Defense and the VA. So why would an organization like Mighty Oaks have to exist to do this work? Because if I could tell you where this really started, was about 20 years ago when 9/11 happened, when those Twin Towers fell down. We went to war. And we have been at war for almost 20 years now, and it's been the longest time in our history of our nation that we've been at war, and our warriors are paying the price. We have a very small percentage of our population, less than 0.5% participating in those wars. And the deployment after deployment, I did 8. I mean, some people have done 14. I talked to one PJ that did 21 deployments. They're burnt out. About 4 years into that, the VA and DOD realized that we had a problem. We had a suicide problem. And the rate at that time was 16 suicides a day, which is a big deal, 16 a day. And thankfully, they said we have to do something about it. And so they started programs. They started 1,200, over the last 15 years, the DOD and VA have stood up 1,200 programs, all clinical programs. And in the last 15 years of them doing that, we went from 16 suicides a day to 22 a day. The most current VA report is 20 a day, which I don't believe that report is accurate because only half of the states report, so we don't know what the number is. 1 a day is too many. But the point is, in the last 15 years, from 16 to 22, the problem has gotten worse. They stood up 1,200 programs, clinical programs, and spent billions of dollars, billions of taxpayers' dollars, and the problem has gotten worse. So why did the problem get worse? In fact, if you look at the suicide rate and you break down the number at 22, really think about it for a second. That's 7,300 a year. Since the war on terror began, that's 140,000 of our men and women who serve in uniform have died, not on the battlefield, but by their own hand, taking their life. Last year, the Marine Corps reported that they had the worst active duty suicide rate in history. The problem before was more on the veteran side. Now it's increasing on the active duty side. The Marine Corps had the worst year last year in history. The Special Operations Command, their active duty suicide rate last year quadrupled, from 1 a day to 4 a day, quadrupled last year. Last month, there was an article that came out by the United States Air Force that the number one cause of death for active duty airmen, guess what it is? Suicide. It's unsatisfactory. These programs that have been stood up and the billions of dollars spent have failed our warriors. Now there's great people in the VA and there's great people in the DOD. The VA has some great people that work there. But these programs are failing. And the reason they're failing is simple, because they're targeting the mind and the body, but they're missing the most important and the unseen wound of the soul. See, combat creates a spiritual wound that only has one remedy, and they will not do what needs to be done. They're not going to do it. And organizations like Mighty Oaks has to stand in a gap and solve the problem. They're aiming at the wrong target, they're shooting at the wrong target, and they're always going to miss because they're not aiming at the right thing. This is a spiritual wound, and there's only one way that you're going to heal a spiritual wound, right? You can heal a person's body, you can heal their mind with the best doctors and best medicine, but until you heal someone's soul, they're never truly going to be well. And that one way is through a relationship with Christ and aligning your life to the life that you were created to live. And they may not do it, and they may not say it, but we will. We'll both say it, and we'll do it. And a lot of people, some people may be here and say, well, you might not believe what we believe. You might came here and not even realize Mighty Oaks was a Christian organization. I can tell you that a lot of the military commands that send people on active duty orders to Mighty Oaks do not agree with us either. They don't believe in what we believe, but they had tried everything else and nothing worked. And so they're like, hey, we have a saying at Mighty Oaks, if what you're doing isn't working, why not try something different? They send them to us. They don't agree with us. They don't believe in it. They're not Christians. In fact, about half of the people that show up at our program would consider themselves atheists or agnostic, or they hate God. We had a Satanist recently who came, and he said, man, I think I'm at the wrong program because I don't believe what you guys believe. And our team leader, Kevin, said, oh, well, it's okay. You can stay here. You don't have to believe what we believe. He said, no, I do believe what you guys believe. I'm just on the other team. I'm in a Satanist church. He had 666 tattooed on him, and he decided to stay for the week because the food's good and we're going to have fun. And at the end of the week, he got baptized. It's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. So, again, the military and many of our warriors, they come to our program. They don't agree with what we do, but they're looking for hope, and they need hope to move forward, and we're able to provide that to them. This isn't just my opinion of the success of Mighty Oaks. We recently had a third party. One of the things that Christian programs have really struggled to build their case is they don't have data. And that was us. We said, hey, our program is great. We're helping so many people, but we didn't have the data. And the government wants to see data. So we did a 3-year independent doctoral study. It's called a longitudinal data study. It's kind of a big word. I'm so happy I said it right. But we had somebody way smarter than me who was doing his doctorates, and so it's totally independent of us. And he took a series of guys who graduated our program over a period of 3 years, and he studied their progress. And I could give you all the data and detailed numbers, but we'd be here all night. But the conclusion of it all is that we did great. Not only did we do great, but we outperformed clinical trials, meaning we did better than medicine does. And surprise, right? So those results are going to be pretty amazing for us as an organization. We're one of the first organizations of our kind to have results and data like that. And it's resulted in several things. One of the things that it's resulting in is we're going to go, Jeremy Stolnecker, our executive director, and myself, are going to be going to Washington, D.C. on December 11th. We're going to be testifying before Congress on faith-based solutions for post-traumatic stress, mental health, and veterans care. So where the government has failed as an institution, organizations like Mighty Oaks and Mighty Oaks has brought that solution to the table, and we've been able to connect it to our veterans. And this has also created a kind of an unprecedented access to veterans. Again, we don't just get veterans from the veteran community. We get active duty military from all 4 branches that come on orders to us. And it's created a tremendous demand for our programs. We do the resiliency program. We speak to tens of thousands of people on bases around the world. Jeremy spoke in Ukraine this year. I spoke in Germany. We both spoke in Germany, Peru. We speak to military people all around the world. And we get more and more requests from active duty commands that are asking us. Every week we get new requests from a different command saying, hey, will you come and speak about resiliency to our warriors? I just spoke to 8th Marines before they left for their deployment. I spoke to about 1,200 active duty Marines who were leaving for combat, and got to speak to them right before they left off. It's amazing. And then in our legacy program, which Jeremy's going to tell you a little bit more about later tonight, our legacy program is our core program where we bring people, we have 32 weeks a year that we bring them to our ranches, and we bring them through this intensive combat trauma program. We have 1,585 applications pending to come to that program. The demand is huge. We have another 150 rolling in every month for people wanting to come to this program. Why? Because after 20 years of war, it's still going. Our veterans are suffering. Our veteran community is suffering. And there's a very big problem out there, and no one wants to talk about it. The news cycle's covered with politics. No matter what you choose, I'm sure I'd say CNN or Fox, but I think I know this room leans towards. But no matter what you choose, right, you get on there and the news cycle's clogged up with politics, and we can't talk about the real problems. It's a big problem. But while it's a big problem, the good news is that we have a solution. And tonight, each of us get to be part of that solution. That's what fundraisers like tonight's for. It's not to eat that good chicken. It's to come here and raise the resources it takes to get these warriors to our program. It costs us $2,500 to get a warrior to our program because we pay for everything. There's no cost to them at all, including travel. It doesn't matter where they live. We even flew someone from overseas before. It doesn't matter where they live. We're going to get them there and take out all the obstacles because people like you are willing to come on a Saturday night and open your checkbooks and make it happen. That's the part of the process that we're playing in this tonight. And I've literally have seen thousands of lives literally saved. Lives saved. The best part of my job is when we get the letters from the wife, like, you saved my husband's life, or from a kid, like, thank you for having my daddy back. That's the best part of my job, is getting those incredible letters. And as Chad said tonight, we're not going to have any reservations in letting you guys know tonight the goal is to raise money. And when we started this event, and I seen the event sold out, and by the way, it did sell out, so next year, tell your friends to get tickets sooner. And you guys get tickets sooner, and I promise we'll have a bigger room next year, and we'll pack it out. Can we agree on that? Right? So, but while tonight is a fundraiser, sometimes we get caught up in the money of it. Like, our goal, $1 million, sounds like I pulled a number out of a hat and said, we're going to raise $1 million. Like, it's not about, if it would cost $10 to do what we do, I'd be good with $10. But the deal is we have 800 850 beds next year to do it for our legacy program. So tonight, every dollar we raise goes in our scholarship fund, not to our overhead. Every dollar we raise goes in our scholarship fund, and we're gonna fund Warriors to go to that program. And I thought, hey, tonight, with 650 people here, we could raise half of our scholarship budget. I still believe, even halfway through the night, I still believe we could do that. I don't know if anybody else believes that with me. I'm kind of crazy with goals sometimes, but I believe that we could do that. That's because, you have to sit where I sit sometimes and get to see this. This isn't just 400, this isn't just 400 people. This is 400 warriors that saved our country and are struggling because of their service to our country. The reason we get to sit here in a place like this and eat a meal like you got to eat is because of these warriors, right? And they paid an ultimate price. Some of them have lost their friends in that price, and some of them are struggling to even stay alive right now. And we have a duty to see them get home. And I don't care if the government's going to do it or not. We get mad at the government and say the VA should do it and the government should do it, and it doesn't change anything. We could do it. We could do it here tonight. We could change 400 warriors. We could save 400 lives. We could change 400 legacies. We could restore 400 families. And we could change 400 eternities forever. And who knows the exponential impact of that? Maybe the next Dan Crenshaw will be in our group, or maybe the next Billy Graham will be in our group. We don't know. I can tell you that it's so cool to see guys leave our program, go off. We have a guy in here, I don't know if he's here tonight, Joey Malas, who came through our program. Never heard from him again. I'm like, man, the guy's not staying in touch with us. Like, he must have really hated us. He turns around, he's got a ministry taking veterans, he goes twice a year, takes veterans to Israel. He started a ministry out of our Armor of God, or Army of God, I think. Army of God. He's a Marine, he called it Army, I don't know why. But it's an awesome mission, though. He's taking veterans to Israel twice a year. And he just came through our program, and that guy was like headed downwards in such a downward trajectory, and then turned it around and doing stuff for the community, doing stuff for the veteran community, and doing stuff for the kingdom and changing people's eternities. So, yeah, there remains a big problem. And this is a really big deal. 22 suicides a day is terrible, and the 80% divorce rate on different bases, and the 30% of people that go to combat that are struggling with PTSD. It's a big problem. But through Mighty Oaks and through each person here tonight, we could bring the solution to the table. And I believe we could do that. I'm challenging you to do that. I get told I'm crazy when I set goals sometimes. And I set that goal for this, and maybe I am crazy, but there's a lot of goals I set for Mighty Oaks that have looked crazy. But one thing I learned from being part of Mighty Oaks is when you're never gonna achieve anything big unless you put big goals out there, and I've seen God do the absolute impossible through this organization, and just been blown away by the miracles I've seen happen, and I believe that could happen here again tonight, because when God's in control, and He's in control of Mighty Oaks, it's His ministry, it's His program, and He's gonna bring the resources together, and He's gonna use people like you to do it. And so thank you. And on behalf of Kathy, my wife, right here in the front row, if you can't find her, just look for their hair. On behalf of Kathy and myself, I'm just so thankful for each of you for just believing in us, believing in the mission of Mighty Oaks, and continuing to lock arms with us as we move forward. Lots of work still to be done, and I can promise you I'm not stopping, and Kathy's not either. And I can tell you on behalf of our team, we're not stopping. We're just getting started. We're gonna solve this thing, and we're gonna keep bringing that solution to the table.